Here's our science man Michael Mosley on how, remarkably, hypnotherapy can be used actually in place of general anaesthetic, believe it or not.
What happens if you need an operation, but for psychological or medical reasons you can't or won't have an anaesthetic? Well, incredible as it sounds, some people opt for hypnotism. So how does it work? I'm off to find out.
At Birmingham University, Dr. Stuart Derbyshire studies pain, and he's about to inflict some on me.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to basically put this heat pad onto your arm, and what you will feel is you'll feel very rapid pulses of heat.
Ooh! Ooh! Pain is both mental and physical. What happens is when the pain receptors, called the nociceptors, in my arm are activated, a signal goes via my spinal cord to my brain, and it's in my brain this mysterious thing we call pain occurs, and that's when I go ouch.
To find my pain threshold, Stuart racks up the temperature until it really hurts.
And let's see how this one feels.
Ooh, that was actually...
Yes.
That wouldn't hit my threshold, I think. Now, actually, that was very painful, and I can still feel it in my skin. Now, normally, if I was going to have an operation, I would have a drug which would block the action of the pain. What Stuart is going to attempt to do in the moment is hypnotise me as though I had had an anaesthetic. I find it incredibly hard to believe that that will work, but we'll find out.
OK, Michael, I'd just like you to sit back in your chair. So just allow yourself to feel the tension drain. As you relax, you feel the weight lighter and lighter. And now I'm going to put the probe onto your arm as we did before.
Then Stuart turns up the heat. But although I'm aware of it, this time it isn't hurting.
And how did that feel?
Quite pleasant.
He takes the temperature as high as he can safely go, and I'm still relaxed. Then we go one step further. I asked him in advance to try driving a needle into my hand.
You won't feel anything at all.
He pushes the needle in as far as it will go. All I feel is a tugging sensation.
I'm going to pull the pin out now. You won't feel anything as it pulls out of your skin. And one. Eyes open.
Hello.
Wide awake. How did that feel?
It was fine.
Yeah?
It was interesting because when the heat probe on, it sort of felt like warm suntan lotion going on. You did actually shove the pin through.
I did, and that didn't seem to bother you.
No.
But how is this possible? And how is the pain being blocked? To find out, Stuart has been using functional magnetic resonance imaging to peer inside the brains of hypnotised subjects.
So this is a group of subjects that are receiving that same heat that you received earlier, and they're clearly activating this part of the brain here, which is called the anterior cingulate cortex. And we know from many, many studies that every time somebody reports pain, we activate this part of the brain.
It seems it's here we become aware of pain, and under hypnosis, its activity alters dramatically.
Right, so the yellow area has disappeared, now you've got a blue area which denotes basically reduced activity.
Exactly, yeah. So if you think of this as being an area which generates pain, when you're told not to experience pain, it switches itself off, and consequently you don't feel any pain.
Although the brain is still receiving pain signals, for some reason it isn't processing them.
So how does the hypnotist actually do this?
One theory is that the hypnotist somehow divides the person's consciousness into two bits. A bit that's still experiencing the pain and a bit that isn't experiencing the pain. Other people argue that somehow the hypnotist takes control of those basic sensory processes and switches them on or switches them off. How does that work? Who knows?